Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to episode 7 of the Bluurp Founder Stories, hosted by myself, Daryl Austin Jr. I am the co-founder of Bluurp, and today I have the pleasure to interview Jasper Smith. He is an excellent financial advisor slash planner. I met this gentleman back in the Coalition of Black Excellence last year before COVID hit. And the way he breaks down auditing your financial health and where you are, it's unbelievable. So I am so happy to do this interview today. But before we get started in the interview, I gotta read his introduction so you folks know who he is and where he came from. So Jasper has been involved in the financial services industry for over a decade, working in an array of capacities. Jasper has held positions with Lincoln Financial Group, Bank of America, Merrill Lynch, Northwestern Mutual, Prudential, and a variety of other nonprofit organizations that focus on promoting financial literacy to underserved communities. He holds a life insurance license along with various securities license and the certified retirement counselor designation. He is the founder of a financial empowerment initiative called the Build Wealth Movement, and he has a passion for promoting financial awareness to the nation's youth in underserved communities. Jasper donates countless hours as a board member for the Urban Financial Services Coalition Bay Area chapter. And he was also a four-year letterman in baseball and graduated summa cum laude from North Carolina A&T, or Agriculture and Technical State University, Aggie Pride, like they say,
Right?
with a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration. And he is a North Carolina native out of Durham, North Carolina. So welcome to the podcast, Jasper. Great to have you, man.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you. And I'm glad you mentioned that on how we met because I was a little fiery that day at the CBE conference.
Yeah, say the
and,
least.
and word said about my session, but I warned the audience. Like I
Mhm.
warned everybody before I said, I'm gonna get a little hot today. Like I
Yep,
am talking to a group of people who look like me.
yep,
Therefore, I want to be very, very authentic. Like I want to keep it 100.
yep.
And I'm glad you were there to witness that because I met a ton of good people in addition to yourself of
Yep.
just people who were like, I get it. Like I see the fire because sometimes it comes off as like, why are you being so honest? And I'm
Yep.
thinking, that's the problem. People have been lying to y'all.
Yep.
So let me keep it real with you for a little bit.
No, absolutely, man. This is what folks need to hear, especially in our community, especially when it comes to financial planning and awareness. And you bring a breath of fresh air to all of that. So before we get into that, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are, where you come from, and everything, so that way the viewers and the listeners can know who you are.
Yeah, yeah. So like you said, born and raised in Durham, North Carolina. I'm the youngest of three, and I appreciate where I grew up. I love the South, and I think having that kind of foundation it's inside of me. And although I've lived in California for gosh, going on 12 years now,
Mm,
you can't get the Southern boy out of me.
right.
And like I don't think I'll be able to get the New York out of you, right? It's just gonna
No.
be there.
Yep.
Like
Absolutely.
it's in my blood. Like I still say yes, ma'am, and women are
Mhm.
like, "Don't call me ma'am." I'm like, I can't stop it. Like, yes, ma'am.
Yep.
And like most people, it was like education was a big deal in my house. Just you're gonna go to school
Mhm.
because again, at some point in life, we weren't able to go. We weren't able to get the education we all thought we deserved, and so it was kind of an expectation that you're going to college. Now, what you decide to do with your career, our parents weren't like trying to push us one way or the other. They just wanted to make sure we had something in our brain
Mhm.
and we go out here and be a productive citizen.
Right.
Now, if you want to be an entrepreneur, great. If you want to go corporate, great. We just want to make sure we nurture you
Yep.
so that way you can have some incredible success when you get older, no matter what you decide to do.
Mhm.
And I think having that foundation and having, I say this not jokingly, but like my parents are still together.
Nice.
So I don't take that for granted that my parents have been married for a very long time. So I know they've gone through some things, but for what it's worth, they still together.
Yep.
And the other step was when it came time for schooling, going to an HBCU.
Right.
So I honestly, man, I almost broke it. Like I was gonna be the kid who wasn't gonna do it. Like my sister went to an HBCU, my brother, And then here I come thinking this, I'm just going to shake up the world. And again, I was wanting to play baseball, like football. I wasn't putting up numbers. And I'm like, I don't want to be broke up every weekend.
Right.
So I'm going to go with the baseball route. And, wasn't getting a lot of opportunities. And lo and behold, the opportunity falls in my lap to attend A&T on a baseball scholarship. So now, parents are like, oh, you got the HBCU, check. Jasper's getting to play some ball, check.
Yep.
So it was so cool, man. And I think going to an HBCU definitely has shaped the way like I run my life. And it's because of the rich heritage. Like you can't go to an HBCU even for a short amount of time and not like soak up all that blackness. Like it's in your face.
Yes, it is.
At all the institutions, including yours, right?
Yep.
It's in all these institutions where you are representing all of us when you leave this campus. All of us. Like you are the spokesperson for the race, whether you want to or not. Your degree says you have officially become a spokesperson for Black stuff.
Yes.
I had no problem with that. And I think about the professors who were really in tune with helping me to develop and grow as a young man. My dean at the time, I mean, these people care, man. Like I know people love all their other institutions. I say, but these at our schools, they put some hands on you. And these hands don't come off of you just because you graduate. Like them hands is like on you. You're like,
they stay.
Loving on your boy. and what's crazy is, and I've always been thankful for that. And I think, like personally, I've written thank you letters and sent them to professors and the deans, and just that it had a profound impact on how I move.
Yes.
And I know that I am enough. I know that what they taught me was adequate for preparing me for the real world. And I know we can do more, but I think they really set that tone. And, the fact that I was able to play baseball was great. Everybody ain't going pro, man. So this whole, I know we only look at success in our community from an entertainment and sports. And I'm thinking they need sports agents, they need financial advisors.
Yeah.
Does anybody want to be like a general manager? Like you can make more money as opposed to putting your body on the line and getting all the shine. But for us, we want the fame and the glory. And you have people in the offices who are writing or cutting their checks.
Right.
Minus the fame. You don't know who the owner is, but like they cutting the check for the star athlete.
That's right.
So I think it was, yes, I wanted to play ball, and baseball is different. You can get drafted out of high school. You don't even need college.
Right.
But I think around like my junior year, I realized I ain't going to the league. And at some point it was almost like, should I put all of my eggs on trying to go pro and going pro in something that I have no control over? So for any top-notch athlete, elite athlete, your success is predicated on somebody else saying okay to you.
Yes.
And a lot of people don't like understand that. Being an athlete is great, but you don't control your success. You hope you get drafted by the right team, by the right franchise. You hope you don't get hurt, versus, well, they can never take your brain away.
Right.
So you have the ability to do something else, because your physical talent, like everybody knows, it will wane over time. Time alone, you getting old, which you can't control or stop, will limit you in some ways. And so, yes, I had the dream, but, I was a D1 athlete. We had some success while I was there in college. I didn't put up great numbers. But how many people can say they even played D1 ball of any sort or played a, sport in college? And, I take it was a great experience. I have some lifelong friends. And for me, I still love watching the game. And when I look at, friends who have kids who are playing baseball, I'm like, I hope they make it. Like, I hope they make it, because I know it can be wonderful, but and baseball is tough, man, because of the minor league system. I mean, you can get trapped in the minor league system forever. Like a lot of people don't make it to the big show.
Sure.
And unless you're a stud coming out of college or, when you get drafted, it's like anything else, right? If you're not on I'll say the list, you're not getting called up
Look at
unless
Tebow.
you produce. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. So unless you produce, which is pretty indicative of life, if you don't produce, opportunities will not come your way. So it's the same kind of dynamic of, okay, I took all these lessons in sports and I kind of, okay, how does this transition into business?
Mm-hmm.
It's the same, it's a game. There's some rules,
Yeah.
and I need to figure out what can I do to win, not come in second.
Yeah.
I want to win. And I think all of this, having two parents, having a loving household, going to an HBCU, it all kind of shaped my life in terms of how and why I do what I do.
Mm-hmm.
It's very intentional as to why I want to help people who look like me. But I'm not naive.
Right.
Money's green, so don't get it twisted. Money's still green. Everybody respects the green.
Mm-hmm.
But I still have this piece of me that wants to help my people because, again, we were not exposed to the information. We don't have the experts coming into our communities. And for the ones who may do, they don't know how to talk to us, man. Like, come on, man. Like, stop. I don't care what degrees you have and if you have the license, that's all are you legitimate is all I care.
Right.
But there's not a connection.
Mm-hmm.
And so we still have this issue with financial services companies across the board because we don't have that connection. There's nobody in your office who looks like me. Your CEO is a racist and everybody knows it. Y'all aren't hiring Black managers. We're getting to certain levels in your organization and then we're cut off. You just got a board member that looks like me and it took y'all 1,000 years. So come on, you mean to tell me there hasn't been one Black, I'll say male or female, who was legit enough to be on y'all's board? Come on, y'all. Who are y'all playing with? And I think that comes from growing up how I grew up and understanding that, Black is beautiful, Black is excellent, but society has told us the exact opposite. Like, you can't be a financial advisor, Jasper. Like you said earlier, Derek, like me having hair, like the industry frowns upon like hair.
Mm-hmm.
Even facial hair, having a goatee and a mustache, a lot of people are clean shaven because that's been perpetuated year after year and decade after decade. Well, if I'm your money guy, I need to be suited and booted, no facial hair, clean cut, no earrings, no tattoos. And so they made that the example. Like, that's the recipe for what your financial expert should look like. And that's the reality I live in.
Nah, Jasper, nah. Well, first off, we want to, let's talk about the positives first. Let's salute your parents. They did a hell of a job with you. Salute North Carolina A&T, Aggie Pride, and giving you a scholarship that helps you on your journey to get financially free and not have debt. So before we go, into, what got you passionate about it, you mentioned you played baseball. So what position did you play? I did look at some stats and I saw that you were like a pitcher. You actually had like 15 strikeouts your sophomore year. That is excellent for a D1, athlete, man. You had some strikeouts, man. So tell us a bit about your pitching experience at A&T. Did you pitch in some big games? What were some rivals? How does it feel getting a strikeout if you had on, a man on second with 2 outs or a bases loaded type of situation? Share some of that.
Yeah, man. Definitely wasn't like the star, a part of a team. I was a relief pitcher. I had always been a starting pitcher, but again, didn't care. I'm in college, I'm pitching. And, we were in a conference. So our conference was the MEAC at the time. Mm-hmm. And so if you win your conference, you get the automatic bid to the big tournament. It's kind of like basketball, right? So baseball has its own, tournament as well. And so we won my sophomore year. We won the conference, and we went to regionals down in Clemson. And the fun thing about like where we are is that we have a lot of ACC teams, and so those are the games we're scheduled, early in the season. And we won a few of those. We lost the majority of them, but you get that exposure to how do I compare to the bigger schools, and you see the difference. Like, you see the caliber of pitching, the hitting, how they run bases. And so for me getting in, and I'm totally honest about this experience, it's more of a mental game when you're a pitcher.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, you need to have the stuff. Like, you need to understand and be able to control your pitching and hit your spots. But the mental game is so challenging. And I tell people my story. Like, I wasn't on my coach's favorite list. So if opportunities, didn't come few far in between, I was like, I gotta like be A1 when I get out on this mound.
Mm-hmm.
And if I didn't, I didn't see a lot of burn.
Right.
And so it was fun at some point, and then it kind of wasn't. And I ain't gonna lie, man. Junior year, I kind of checked out. I was like, if I didn't get the time I needed on the mound junior year, it was a wrap for me. But I still loved playing. So during the summers, I played in leagues, and I was like, this is fun, but I ain't going pro.
Right.
Let me go get an internship. And it's tough when you're having fun, but when the fun comes like at a price of like, what else am I sacrificing by hoping that I'm gonna get my coach to put me in the game?
Right.
And then I was like, you know what? I don't think I'm going to the league, and I'm not gonna bet my entire life on trying to make this work, just because part of it was how I was brought up. And this is a real story. My dad told me when I got my baseball scholarship, real story. He was like, I'm happy you got the scholarship. I need your ass to graduate in 4 years. And I'm like, I don't get no like congratulations. He was like, look, you ain't gonna be one of them athletes who's on the 5 or 6 year graduation plan.
Mm-hmm.
And I need you to graduate in 4 years. And I did. Like, there was no, all he said was, I need your ass to graduate in 4 years. And then he said, or else we're gonna have a problem. Mm-hmm. I didn't ask what the problem's gonna be, man. I'm just like, and I think that seed being planted at 17, mm-hmm. he was kind of right. He was like, you're about to like throw everything else away in hopes of getting drafted. Like, if you're not putting up numbers at your school, if you just play in a competitive summer league, somebody will pick you up and you'll get drafted. And so I played in some summer leagues, and dude, honestly, it's a lot. Like, you don't have a life. And I was like, if I play in a real competitive league, I'm playing or traveling around all summer. And baseball's a long season from January until March. Mm-hmm. And then that year we won, conference and went to regionals. I didn't leave campus until July. So then from July to, let's say late June, early July through August, you're playing in competitive leagues if you're trying to get picked up. Mm-hmm. And then by the time that league is over, school has started again. So you have no summer. Yeah. There's no time for internship. You ain't seeing your friends. You're literally just playing ball. And where I was in life, I wasn't putting up the numbers to kind of convince myself that it was worth it.
Right.
If I get drafted, I'm gonna go get shipped off to, somewhere in the middle of nowhere, small town, riding a school bus to the game, living in a motel, making $2 a day. And that didn't seem appealing to me. Now, if I was doing better, like during the season and getting, some looks and putting up numbers, maybe I make that commitment a little bit more to baseball. But I think my dad planting that seed in my head around, you need to graduate. Oh, and then he also said, what if you break your arm? I'm left-handed. He was like, what if you break your arm? Mm-hmm. I was like, shit, man, like, can I just live? Like, can I just enjoy that? I'm getting to play some ball. Yeah. But he was, for what it's worth, man, just keeping me grounded. Reality is, dog, you ain't starting like that. You ain't putting up numbers. If you want to go down this route, I'll support you. But he literally left the ball in my court. He was like, I'm going to make you grow up. And most kids don't have that luxury of having a strong father figure who lives in reality.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
If you were shutting it down and, people are blowing up the phone and they're inviting you to play in camps and things like that, okay, maybe you need to devote your life to it.
Yeah.
And I think you should. And I think you got to have good people in your camp. And so I hate it for these kids who feel like sports is the only way out, because it wasn't for me. I'm sorry. I was kind of a privileged Black kid.
Yeah. So nothing wrong with that.
Nothing. And I got comfortable with, I don't think playing ball was going to be it for me. And I know that my parents are going to love me no matter what.
Yep.
But my dad was like, yo, be real. Just be real. And a lot of kids can't. They're holding on to that dream. And so at some point I was like, let me just enjoy this college experience. Yeah. I'm on the team still. When I play, I play. When I wasn't even upset anymore. But I lost that love, and I was like, yo, you shouldn't be doing stuff you don't love. I was happy to be there. I got my degree. My last semester in college, I lost my mind because I wasn't even traveling to away games.
Right.
Like that's how I was so checked out, ready to graduate. I
Yeah.
had already gotten my job before the last semester of my senior year. So, dog, you talk about partying my tail. That last semester. I mean, it got to the point where my teammates would be like, yo, man, we won this weekend. I was like, oh, y'all did? He was like, y'all. He was like, you still on the team? I was like, yeah, Monday through Friday, I'm on the team. And when y'all travel, because I was checked out. I was like, I'm
Yeah.
about to graduate. I got a job. Yeah, but you know what happened though? It became fun again. And I wasn't worried about my stats, I didn't care. I was like, if I play, I play. If not, I'm just gonna enjoy my teammates. And I think that's tough for a lot of people to deal with, where sometimes you gotta let it go. That chapter was almost over, and I got comfortable with understanding this is incredible. Like I got to play ball this long. I didn't make it to the league. I didn't get drafted.
Right.
And even had I gotten drafted and got cut, I could have said, yeah, I made it to the pros.
Yeah.
But I didn't. I said, I can live with I made it to college.
Yeah,
On
absolutely.
scholarship.
A lot of people can't do that, man. And look, you still have 15 strikeouts your sophomore year, man. A lot of folks ain't doing that. And it took a lot of awareness and emotional intelligence for you to understand, like, you know what? This is not something I want to do going forward. And you swallowed that hard pill and you moved on. A lot of folks would have been trying to, I need to study Mariano Rivera. I need to go to these ABCD camps and all of this stuff, trying to force it through. And you were very comfortable with the decision you made that, going forward, I really want to enjoy my life. I used to play basketball, myself. And when I got to Livingstone, I wanted to try out for the team, but I saw how much they practice. I was like, this ain't for me, man. I wanna go to class. I wanna party. I wanna chase girls. I wanna pledge a fraternity. I wanna have a good, well-rounded college experience. So I definitely understand the decision that you made, man. So hats off to you on that, man. No one can ever take that experience away from you. But now we're going to get into your career path. So with that being said, I don't know too many folks that are passionate about personal finance such as yourself. Was it a moment? Was it an experience that really caught your attention to get you involved with personal finance? Can you walk us through on that shift that you had?
Yeah, it happened pretty quickly after school. So first job, took me to Philadelphia, and I was in financial. First job out of college, I'm in the industry, and I credit the universe. My first manager out of college was a Black female. And again, I love Kim. Like I still stayed in touch with her. Like again, certain people come into your life, you don't realize how important and they're such an integral part of like your development. And so at that time, I'm a confident young man. I'm thirsty to learn about like the corporate game, financial services. And she was like an open book. And I think they placed me on her team on purpose. I could have been on any other team in this sales group,
right?
But I got placed with her. And I think that's a hiring decision where, I think he or she might fit well with this manager. And I got to see the real game. Like this wasn't textbook case study stuff that I had learned or, did in class. This was, the game this is wild. This is like real. This is real stuff. And all I saw was, okay, I have a manager who's a Black female, very few Black people on this sales floor or just on our immediate team. The sales floor itself, not a lot of people who look like me or you.
Right.
The offices are, filled with people who don't look like me or you. Like, okay. So, just exploring, right? I'm always curious, and I'm always curious as to why things are the way they are. And having Kim right there, I was like, yo, I got this question. Like, how do these people, like, why does it look like this? And she would share stories, and I was like, it's not enough of us who apply for these positions. If we get in, Maybe we don't do what it takes to stay in the position. Maybe we're happy to get the title, but don't work hard enough. Maybe if we're in a hiring position, we don't try to reach back out and hire more of us like everybody else does. And so I started seeing the same stuff. I was like, huh. And so, a lot of my coworkers, I would ask them about their departments, and, people talk about diversity. It's like, okay, yeah, y'all talk about it, but like, can we live it? And so what happened with that was my first, so I was in a rotational program, I should say that. So Philadelphia was stop number one.
Mm-hmm.
And the second rotation is actually what brought me to California.
Okay.
And so now, like, I'm in a financial planning office, and it's the same dynamic. Like, I'm one of two people who are Black. Two. Out of this entire office of advisors, assistants, operations staff, two. And I'm like, I ain't the brightest dude, but I'm like, something ain't adding up. So my people tend to be poor as hell. The wealth gap is widening. The data that I read shows that my people are always at the bottom of certain categories and at the top of others. Right. And the ones at the top of aren't categories you want to be at the top of.
Right.
And Daryl, I'm sitting here like, I got it. I got to be the guy. Swear to God, this is it. I'm 22 and the light bulb clicked. I said, man, I ain't the smartest dude. I don't have an MBA. I don't have a PhD, but just observing like life in my industry was like, Jasper, if you don't go do this, who's going to do it? Because what you're seeing is them not doing it. Mm-hmm. That's what sparked me. Some people ain't going to the hood. No. They're afraid of getting jacked.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I have friends who, live in some of these communities that you're afraid to go into. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't know how to talk to us. That's another problem. So you can't even get in because you can't talk to us. Right. You've also said, well, we don't have enough money, so you're just going to avoid our entire zip code. Dude, it's a cold game. Not much has changed, just so you know. Certain communities don't have banks. They have check cashing places. The big players will not set up a location, or I'll say any business that wants a certain type of customer or client, they will only set up shop in the neighborhoods that they know can afford them. And again, in these communities we're talking about that are underserved, people who like me and you.
Wow, man. Look, at 22, I was thinking about happy hours after work. I was going through my first job working at an insurance company. I wasn't even thinking about what my narrative was in the future, man. What awareness and what perspective you have, man.
It's crazy. So I realized too that, and for some it happens even earlier. Like you read about these, prodigies who start out and they continue their life in their, respective field. Yep. I think I was fortunate to kind of have that light bulb go off. But I didn't know. Right. I had no clue. Yeah. I went to a lot of happy hours too, so don't get it twisted. I was out here having fun too, but I was still very aware. I was overly aware of, I gotta go do this, and I don't know how it's going to look, but from what I'm seeing right now, it's not going to get better unless I'm one person who tries. And I even to this day, I'm just trying. It's working in some regards, and in other regards it's not, or I'm not seeing the results I would like to see quick enough or over a sustained period of time. I'm still not seeing the movement. Yeah. And I think that's the part that is the challenge for me. It's like, that's why I'm here. Mm-hmm. Like you see the problem, so keep trying to offer the solution. That's been my MO, man, since 22.
Hey man,
I saw it early.
Like Les Brown says, man, keep showing up, man, and one day life will let you in the door, man, and you're already halfway there, and folks are starting to understand your message. So now, I want you to talk about the Build Wealth movement. Tell us what that's about. Why did you start it, and what's the purpose of it?
Yeah, so it started, I know exactly where I was when it started. It was during a time where I was unsure about my next move.
Mm-hmm.
And even the hashtag Bill Wealth came about during a time where I actually wasn't working. I was in between a job. And when you have time on your hands, you should maximize the time. If you're looking for work, got laid off, like we always talk about, I wish I had more time to do stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I was given it by not working. So the Bill Wealth thing kind of started as me just posting like a financial article on Twitter, and then I would put hashtag Bill Wealth. Like that was how it started. That's it. And I did it for like almost a year and a half. Just I wanted to see if people would read the stuff that I'm reading.
Right.
I wanted them to see like, I'm not an expert, but I'm trying to tell you to do something, but you don't believe me. So let me keep finding articles from other people, other credible sources, and maybe you'll decide to change what you're doing.
Yeah.
So the movement was like, all right, well, that's how the Bill Up thing got started. And then I said, yeah, I got to make this into like a real thing. And I'll be honest with you, man, I was teetering on this. Should I launch a company? Should I like just keep trying to help people on the side? And there was a young lady, never gonna forget her. She kind of pushed me. It was one of those, why wouldn't you do this? Right. And I didn't have a good answer. And then she said, what if somebody calls you with an opportunity and you're still just Jasper Smith, the financial guy who's trying to help? You don't have a legitimate business or a company. Right. Like you haven't formed anything. And I was like, damn, that's real. And so literally, like the next day, I got a phone call. And it was from a gentleman who was wanting to do some financial empowerment work for his nonprofit. So I go meet with him like the following week. And I left that meeting and the next day went and filed my paperwork just to set up a legitimate business. Swear to God. Like she literally said, what if somebody calls you? I get the call the next day because it was a referral from her. And then I meet with him the next week. And I was like, I'm not even in a legitimate business. I don't have a sole product. I need some paperwork.
Right.
That's what forced me to do it. Now, I didn't even get that contract, but it forced me to go through the steps of just file your paperwork with the city, and at least you're legitimate. And then it became this, well, what's my thing? What am I really trying to do? Because build wealth means a lot of things to different people.
It does.
And so I was, doing some brainstorming, and I said, I am trying to change the way people think and feel about money. And I stopped and I was like, oh, damn, that's good. And I wrote it down. And then I was like, think and feel needs to be in all caps, because the way we think about things drives us to take action or to not take certain actions. And then it's the emotions. And Lord knows some of us have so many emotional issues that we're not unpacking. And therefore it's resulting in us doing the wrong things financially, or maybe not doing things when we should do them because of the emotions around something financially related. And so that's how it started. It was, I'm trying to change the way you think and feel. If I can do one or both of those things, I know your life is going to change. And your life may change just by interacting with me, not even becoming a client or a customer, just by you hearing me talk. Like that CBE thing was, it moved a lot of people there. Like a lot of people were like, bruh, you was on some real shit that day. And I was like, I'm not playing. This is if I can't get inside your head or figure out these emotions, you're not going to be wealthy. You're not, you might get rich because you have a degree and you can keep a job.
Right.
You can get rich, but you're trying to have some wealth. This ain't going to cut it. And so this journey has been like 5 years and counting now. It evolved, and literally over this last holiday season. So this new wave of like, what is the movement about now? It's very, very focused. I still want to change the way you think and feel about money, but now I want to disrupt generational poverty. So forget all this. I do real estate, cryptocurrency, investments, stock, blah, blah, blah. I don't care what you do. Are we disrupting generational poverty? Because I know people who are very successful who leave nothing to their families but bills, who don't have estate plans, they just don't do what's necessary to break the trend. So my new kick, The world knows this already. I am working, Mr. Build Wealth, the Build Wealth movement is working to disrupt generational poverty. So I want to have a conversation with the whole world. And this is just the beginning. Stay tuned, brother. It's about to get real hot.
Yeah, we need that energy out in the world, man. Because me personally, if I had folks in my family that passed away, assets were not passed down, or if they were passed down, there were no structure in place, there were no plans in place, or you have some folks who passed away untimely, and folks are doing GoFundMe fundraisers to pay for their burial. Like, yeah, we have to break that cycle and that trend. And I'm really glad you used that pillar of think and feel, man, because those two things is what drive decisions. And I'm glad you're at the forefront of it. And I'm going to do what I can to make sure I promote the Build Wealth movement to others so that way they know. And I was actually talking to a few folks while I'm in town visiting family. Hey, you got life insurance? Oh, okay. I may have to put you in touch with somebody I know, Jasper Smith. He making find a policy for you. Don't worry about how the most expensive one. You just need some insurance. So I'm putting some bugs in some folks' ears about those things. So no, you keep doing what you're doing, man. It's needed.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, man. It's scary to see us have so much success in this life and then it not make it to the next generation. The example I hear a lot, well, not just here in the Bay Area, but everywhere. These people who, grandma, whoever, or grandpa had all this real estate.
Mm-hmm.
So when they passed away, whether it was timely or untimely, nobody knew where the documents were. And as a result of them not having a real plan, they had to sell all the property. And some of these properties were sold in neighborhoods now where if you walked in there today, they have appreciated 10, 20 times, 30 times of what, was paid for.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is how we lose out and can't build wealth. This is how
Right.
we perpetuate generational poverty. So the elders had the property, but now y'all can't even hold on to it because you can't pay the bill, you can't pay the taxes, you can't pay for maintenance. And so you
Mm-hmm.
sell out because you're so cash poor and thirsty for the money,
Mm.
you can't see the long-term play. I'm not saying all of the property needs to be held,
Sure.
but some properties should be sold and others should not.
Right.
But if you didn't leave any instructions, so how good of an investor were you if you left no instructions for the next generation? So you did all this awesomeness and then it just goes to zero. I think I think it's selfish. Honestly, the first thing I want to say, I think it's very selfish. But then I also realize that you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, some folks don't know,
You
man.
don't know.
Some folks, they were lucky to get into real estate in the 60s, 70s, and
Mm-hmm.
80s when houses were cheap. And there weren't plentiful financial advisors they can talk to. There weren't tax strategists or the type
Yeah.
of accountants that we have today. They just kind of bought and hold, and just kind of wish for the best.
Mm-hmm.
So there are folks who truly don't know what these next steps are to preserve that. But you're here to fill that gap. But I'm also glad that you're keeping folks honest and letting them know that stop playing out here. We need to, turn over a new leaf and make things happen for the better, man. So yeah, and that's going to get into my next question. So, what are some tips or steps that folks in our community can take to get started with financial planning? Because I think a lot of the times we live in the world of instant gratification. We see the next big thing on TV, or we see this person, oh, I invested 100,000 in the stock market, and now I'm worth $3 million in my portfolio, and folks are going crazy trying to do that tomorrow. But oftentimes you need to start where you are. So I'm going to leave that up to you. I'm going to leave that to you now to answer that question for us.
You just said the key word, start where you are. Look, social media will have you thinking one thing and you don't know the truth. The media, they sell you on fear and emotions, which again is very intentional how I'm trying to change that. Like it's the emotions. And biggest thing you can do, and the very first step that anybody can do, you don't need me for this, you don't need an advisor, you don't even need an app. You need to just look and know where is your money. Like right now, at this moment in time, where are all of your accounts? Bank accounts, checking, savings, CDs, your retirement accounts, your insurance policies, your statements for your mortgage, your your credit. Like, do you just know where everything is? And literally, I tell people the first step is you take an inventory, and it's the balance sheet. That's what a balance sheet is like a snapshot. On this day and time, here's where I'm at. Just do that. Don't think about nothing else. Don't tell me about what you're interested in, about what you heard, about what they're doing over there. Just stop. First step.
Okay.
What you got?
And now this is going to get into your game. So tell us about this wonderful financial planning game that's focusing on understanding your balance sheet and your assets and starting where you are and working on a plan, because that's what really drew me to you, is when you put us through this 15-minute game of understanding where you are. And when it got time to go to the assets, I was like, oh shoot, I need to check out some things myself. Let me go talk to this brother. So I want you to walk us through that game and what made you come up with that game, and why is it such an important tool to help you get going in the right direction with
I
your
love it.
finances.
I love that you call it a game, because that's exactly it. We're all playing this game of life, first of all. And to any game, there are rules. And if you follow the rules, you can use the rules to your advantage. You will have success. Or you're just going to keep getting played. And the 15-minute plan activity came about when I was a financial advisor who sat in a bank, and people just avoided me like the plague. And the biggest excuse, which I shared to y'all in the group, I said, nobody ever has time to talk to me, ever. And then when something goes wrong, now you're scrambling trying to figure out your life. And so I was like, I got to do something that's short and sweet that won't take up a lot of your time, because you keep saying you're busy. And so that's where the 15 minutes came from. And I did it in y'all session. I timed it.
Mm-hmm.
Even with the questions and interruptions, it was like maybe 12 minutes.
Yeah.
So it isn't even a full 15 minutes, but the questions were very specific and targeted. And so as I designed this, I wanted to not take up too much of your time, was the first part. But the second, I wanted people to see why financial planning is important. And I give this disclaimer. I am not for or against any product or solution. There is a product for everybody. Like, literally, there's a product that exists because a certain person needs it.
Yep.
But that 15-minute plan hits you with balance sheet, budget, credit, life insurance, disability, kid planning, child stuff, taxes and estate planning. And I didn't even mention real estate in the activity, but the questions that I ask in the 15-minute plan, you will have to address all of those at some point in your life if you haven't already done so. The kicker for this activity too is funny, man, is I asked the balance sheet question, and this wasn't in your group, but I've asked do you do a balance sheet? Have you ever done one? And people will say yes. And then the very next question is, have you done a budget? And then you get that look and they're like, I thought I just said yes to it's a totally separate document. And that's when I realized I was onto something, Daryl. When I started seeing people like react and saying, oh, that's a different document, budget, balance sheet, two separate things. That right there let me know that people need me.
Yeah.
That alone. Because what happens, most people want to skip steps in the financial planning process.
Yeah.
They want to talk about investments, retirement, real estate, cryptocurrency, all the sexy stuff that you see the media talking about all the time. The markets went up, the markets went down, stocks did that. And we get consumed with I'll call like the shiny little toy. Yeah. They just keep dangling it. Oh, this is the shiny thing. That's only one part of the plan. So that 15-minute plan or activity was, here are just some questions you should know the answers to. And what I tell people is, if by going through this activity, you feel uncomfortable, you start to get, I'm speaking directly to you, then that just means we have an opportunity to grow. I don't know if it's me you need. I don't know if you need 20 people to help
Right.
you, but if you get uncomfortable going through that activity, you're not doing something. And that needs to change. And this something can really have a profound impact on your.
Absolutely. And so now I want to get into, what's the benefit of having a financial advisor? Now, like with everything going on in the world, therapy is hot, and I'm glad folks are going to therapy, myself included. You have executive coaching, you have all these different services, you have your accounting and all these things. So people often don't get a financial advisor or a planner to help them. So I want you to walk us through, from your perspective, what are the benefits of having a financial advisor on your team?
Some of the most successful people in this world have a coach. And the one coach I think everybody needs to have is the financial one. It's the one that doesn't get the love it. But when we think about our issues in life, it usually comes back to a money decision. We know that poor people in this country don't have or can't afford the best health care. If I get arrested, who can come bail me out? And we're talking like $5,000, maybe $1,000. Like you don't have a friend who just has $1,000 sitting around. And I think about these types of things where when people say, well, I don't need a financial advisor. I'm like, Michael Jordan and Kobe had Phil Jackson.
Right.
Do you think they win all those championships without Phil Jackson? I don't think so.
No.
I firmly believe they were going to be successful and they would have been superstars no matter what. But they don't win those championships without a Phil Jackson. Yes, there's a supporting cast, but he was a very critical member of that team, those organizations. And so when you look at yourself and you're trying to analyze where you may not be having a lot of success or you need to make improvements, it's usually in the financial area, usually. And it's the one we tend to avoid until we have to face it. So somebody has to die, somebody has to get sick, and keep in line with the times. A lot of people died unexpectedly last year and are away because of the pandemic. Let's not get it twisted. This is real shit, man. Like I'm not trying to like scare people, but reality is a lot of people didn't expect to die last year.
No.
So what happens when that unexpected death occurs? People don't know. It's a question mark. I didn't know I should have done this. So I'll give you a good example. Nobody wants to do estate planning. They don't want to leave their family any instructions about what to do with their stuff, their money when they pass away.
Right.
And then you see Aretha Franklin, Prince, Michael Jackson still dealing with it. You have Chadwick Boseman. He's the most recent one that hurt my heart. Everybody loves Black Panther. And then when I saw the news about his wife having to go to probate court, it hurt I'm not even an attorney.
Right.
But I was like, there's not one person in his camp, out of all these people this guy knows, not one person said, make sure your affairs are in order. And you were sick. So you knew time was limited and still didn't do it. That's what scares me. Like, brother probably knew better. Like, people know better, but they're not going to do better until somebody forces that. I don't want that to happen to anybody.
Right.
But reality is it's going to keep happening.
Yeah.
Over and over. You don't need a financial advisor or a financial planner or a financial coach. Just keep telling yourself that. And then keep showing me the lackluster results you get with your overall plan. You'll figure it out at some point. But I think a lot of people will continue to waste a lot of precious time that you should be spending working on your business, working in your profession, spending time with your family. I don't need to be a tax expert, Daryl. So I have a CPA. Yeah. I'm not wasting all my time trying to read the tax code. You better make that investment and get it done.
Yes.
So you need this advisor. At some point, you need a relationship with an advisor, not the company or firm who has your account. That's just a representative who
Yeah.
you can call who's at the 800 number.
Yeah.
You have no relationship.
Right.
They got your account. And on any given day, you're going to talk to somebody else.
Right.
I think you should have a really good relationship with a few good people who are vested in you and want to see you be successful. Yes, you should pay them. Yes, they may sell you something. That is a part of the business.
Yeah.
It's worth the investment, because the alternative is you will leave the people you say you love, you will leave them in a situation, and I'm going to question your love for them. You say you love them, we'll do this thing. If you really love them, like for real, I know you will kill for your family. Can you get some life insurance for them?
Right.
I know you will, defend your family and feed them and clothe them and provide shelter. Will you do an estate plan? So in case you ain't here to protect them,
Yes.
there's some instructions. I don't know how many more examples we need. Like, that's what frustrates me. Like, I don't need to have a heart attack to know I need to eat better and take care of my health.
Right.
Some of them make it, some of them don't. But I don't need to be that close to death to realize I need to change my eating habits. But that's just me, Daryl. I'm sorry. That's just me. Let me not speak for people. Some people like the drama. They like coming close to the edge and not figure. They like it or love it. Yeah, I want to have stress, but not that kind of stress.
Right. No, it's nothing wrong with you explaining how you feel, and and actually, people need to hear that unfiltered chat right now. They need to hear the reality of these things. That you want to be able to provide for your family, but if you don't got your affairs in order, if you can't do it, your family ain't gonna be provided for. They need to understand that. They need to hear that. And see, we have all this information available, so now we really need to be able to understand certain basics, So there's nothing wrong with you going on your rant, expressing how you feel. Yes, these are Jasper Smith's views only. He's not speaking for any particular company. I'm just putting that out there because folks may try to say, oh, Jasper's speaking for everybody. No, he's not. But however, this is extremely important that our community starts to understand the gist of the importance of setting yourself up for the future and for future generations. Other coaches do it, and I don't want to hear that, oh, some of them don't, but the majority of them do. So it's nothing wrong with you expressing yourself, man. So don't feel like you have to hold back. And I'm glad you expressed how you felt, because someone that's going to listen to this, they're going to be like, you know what, Jasper Smith, I felt that. He got me to think about that, and that's your pillar, to think and to feel. So this is why you were speaking that. So ain't nothing wrong about that. I'm glad you did speak your piece on it. So now I want to get into something. We got a few questions left. So how do you manage your work-life balance, with your business, especially in times of during COVID when everything's going on? Like, so how do you de-stress? How do you, kind of realign yourself?
Yeah, time management is the first thing. Anybody who's just busy, we're all busy, so that's not a good excuse. You have to make the time, whether that's blocking off time on your calendar, leaving yourself reminders. Like, I do that religiously. I just don't rely on my brain anymore. I just say, you know what? I need to have multiple reminders about small things, large things. And yes, you need to even structure and having breaks and taking trips. So even at one point, didn't take a lot of trips last year, but my fiance was like, yo, we got to go. And I was like, I don't think we got to go far. And so we just went to the coast. Like we went to Pacifica. That's it. Like, we didn't go far.
Right.
And we stayed for like 5 days, and just getting out of like Oakland.
Right.
Talking about maybe 30, 35-minute ride.
Yeah.
But once you get out of San Francisco and you keep going out, like you're literally in a different world.
Yes.
Because you can't see the skyscraper. The skyscrapers are like below the mountains. Like, you can't see it.
Yeah.
And then you're at the Pacific Ocean. Now you're at the coast and you're seeing all the surfers, and you're like, that alone is how you like kind of recharge. Sometimes you got to get out your house.
Yes.
We all been trapped. Like we all probably lost count on how many virtual meetings, how many dogs have barked. It's your kid's gonna interrupt you anytime you think it's gonna be perfect. Your internet connection is gonna drop. And I just
Yeah.
warn people: if it stalls, just know I can see it, you can see it. I will stop talking for a second. If it clears up, people, it gets too much. So I had to learn how to almost schedule my breaks, schedule, if I'm working on a variety of projects, what am I focused on today? Do I have back-to-back meetings? Do I have Zooms? Do I need to read? And it's really just structuring your day. Like even sometimes, like I did it last night. My fiance was like, yo, I'm hitting that point again. I said, bet, let's go out to eat on Saturday.
Yeah.
Like she's got another whole busy day tomorrow. And I was like, yo, let me go take you get some food. That's it. Just you can't eat in, like we're probably gonna sit out at some park and just eat. I said, but we're not in the house, we're not in a restaurant, and we'll just, it kind of forces you to explore things you normally wouldn't do. And anybody can do this. We're looking for, when people say balance does not mean 50-50. The scale is always tipping.
Mm-hmm.
So for you to really continue to flourish, you have to schedule things accordingly. And when you feel overwhelmed, it's time to hit the pause button. Or maybe you need to stop.
Right.
Maybe you need to put it down and you know what? I was working on this project, the creative juices aren't flowing. Put it down for like a day or two or a week. And when you come back, the idea that you were trying to think about comes.
Yeah.
And it happens when I go for a run. So I think exercise is a big one. The home gyms, the bikes, anything in the house now with exercise. I wish I ran a fitness company because they all have just been making money hand over fist.
Yeah.
So you look at, like, you got to exercise. You got to, if it's meditation, I know you said therapy. Yeah, everybody's doing it. You should too.
Yes.
Like you ain't crazy. You crazy if you're not doing this stuff. Self-care is important.
Yes.
Like, I think you're crazy for not making these investments. I do a simple activity. This is from a therapy group that I attend once a month, and I'm working on getting my solo practitioner in place.
Mm-hmm.
But he was like, in our group sessions, they're always like, what are you going to commit to yourself? And I've been doing this. I call it my 10-minute. It's my 10-minute party, and it's a quiet party. Mm-hmm. Phones down. I set a timer. I put my little eye mask on, or I just close my eyes and lay down. I lay on the floor, the bed. I can't sit up. I lay down. 10 minutes. I set my alarm, and for 10 minutes, I just let my brain flow. Sometimes I deep breath. I count my breaths. I'm like, hey, you just start listening to your body. Other times, my brain is just running, but it's running to all these different things. I'm like, okay, why is it running so much today? And it's just it's 10 minutes. That's it. And sometimes I'm like, this is a long 10 minutes, and then the alarm goes off. Sometimes it's like, man, you sure did I set the timer like this? I'm a little uneasy. Like, what? And then sometimes the 10 minutes goes by like that. And I'm like, I wish I should do like 10 more minutes. But I commit to this quiet time, or this, I'll say, me being still. We're always moving. And you have to do something for your mental health, your physical, your spiritual, and your financial. Like, you got to hit all those facets, all of them. So I don't know what balance looks like to you, but you got to hit those buckets, if not every day, every week. Like, there's got to be some type of targeted action plan that is helping you to focus on all those competing priorities. So I went running. I do my little 10-minute party. I'm thinking about my money. I'm thinking about my business, but it doesn't stop. But you gotta find your flow. Whatever time of day that is, you gotta commit to it. And if you can't do it by yourself, this is the key. You gotta get somebody to hold you accountable.
Accountable partner.
So that's the secret sauce to anybody. And I've heard that from very successful people. It's all the same stuff. There's nothing different about it's just, it's gonna look a little different for you versus me. Little tweak here, little tweak there. But it's the same stuff. Self-care, mental, physical. You got to eat right, drink some water. Like, it's all the same stuff. When are you going to decide to listen?
I'm so glad you mentioned that you have to make investments in your emotional, physical, and spiritual self. Because I think before the internet came, we resorted to, how these celebrities had all this money and money just kind of solved all their problems. But, since the internet exploded, there's more information available, more videos, we can really find out. We started figuring out their secrets to success and how they got there. And I'm so glad you mentioned it as an investment. Investments is not always going to pay off tomorrow. Investments take time, just like you came out the womb and you were a child and you had to grow to be an adult, and based on what was around you would determine the type of person you would turn out to be. And, so the investments work the same way. And I'm so glad you mentioned it's an investment. It takes time to compound, to work. So thank you for sharing that. And I'm going to actually try that whole lay down on the bed for 10 minutes with a mask type thing, because I got like a couple of 2-minute stretches that I do, and but I'm going to try that mask thing and lay down for 10 minutes with a timer. That's actually a good one. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. It's whatever you need it to be. And I wasn't making the commitment like for the past couple of months. And every month I'm like, I'm gonna recommit to doing this every day. And again, if I check my calendar, I'm visual. I do a little tally mark or a square on my dry erase board, and I've done it every day this year.
Oh, yeah. So we just got a couple of questions left, man. The next question is, how has COVID impacted your clientele? Are you getting more clients in business now because of what's going on and people don't know what to expect, or what?
It's been a little bit of both. It was some realize they have a lot more time than they thought.
Mhm.
So now you're not busy. I hate the busy excuse. It bothers me to the core. Number one pet peeve. Don't tell me you're busy. Lie to me and make up a story, or give me a legitimate story. But don't just say, oh, I've been busy. So you ain't busy. You ain't commuting. I
Right.
know you're at the house. So for those people who realized they were using the busy excuse, they came along. They say, you know what? I always said I didn't have time. Now I have time.
Mhm.
And they leverage or have been leveraging this time to work on something.
Yeah.
And then you have the flip side of the coin, the people who have sat through this pandemic who have done nothing.
Yeah.
They're the ones I'm still trying to figure out. You never had time when life was normal. Now you got all the time and you still didn't do it. Now I know who the problem is,
Yeah.
and I'm looking at them. And
Mhm.
that's, I think, the fun part for this pandemic has been, you should have invested in something in your life. Maybe it was, I'm investing in going back to school, getting a
Mhm.
degree, reading a book, being a better spouse, a better parent, whatever it was. This was the time. We're not going to have another, maybe a pandemic like this in our lifetime. And if we
No.
do, we will all be overly prepared. But again, this is a once in a lifetime thing that may never happen for hundreds of years.
Yes.
I think people have blown it. You know, for others, a lot of people pay off their credit card debt because they ain't got nowhere to go. I was like, it took a pandemic for you to start doing stuff with your money. Dude, you see the statistics have shown that like 30% of people have paid off their debts, credit card debt only. Like, we know the student loans and the mortgages are still a problem with these
Right.
moratoriums, but people were like, I have nowhere to go. So now I'm debt free. And I was like, it took a pandemic. It's the same for the people who weren't saving money. And, before the pandemic, every financial session you go to, have an emergency fund 3 to 6 months. And people just like look at you like, nah, I'm good, man. I'm going to invest my way. I'm going to buy this house. And I'm like, so when the pandemic hit, could you just walk to the house or property you purchased and pull out cash? Were the investments up or down the day you needed the money?
Mm.
Because the people who had the emergency fund, now it sucks that you got fired or furloughed because of the pandemic, but now you're not worried. And then I worry about the people who still don't save money, who are still gainfully employed, Daryl, and
Mm.
they won't save money or they won't invest. And I'm like, what the hell are you doing? You have been given a gift and you threw it in the trash. A lot of people, man, have just taken this time and they have done nothing to move their agenda forward. It hurts my heart, man. The clients who came on board who were honest with, I always love the honesty. I was like, yo, what's different about this time? And they were like, I've made excuses about why I couldn't do it. And now I see it didn't take that much time.
Right.
Which again helps me bust through this objection that I'm busy. Busy doing what? Making everybody else wealthy?
Yeah.
Your job is gonna be there. You look, I'm asking for like a few hours out of your life. And I tell people this all the time during the 15-minute plan activity. There are 8,760 hours in a year. 8,760. How much time does your financial plan get? And if it's during this pandemic, I know you got even more hours to spend. Right. I'm not saying give me at least 10 hours out of the year. You still have 8,750 hours left to live. There are the stuff that I've heard from people during the pandemic. It's, oh God, this one, I swear to you, man, they still are gainfully employed and have this credit card that they won't pay off. And then said, oh, I can't afford to pay it off. I was like, yo, you bring home this amount of money every month and you're still paying your financial institution interest charges.
Wow.
Remember, we talk about thinking.
Yeah.
How does this make you have money to pay off a credit card debt with this high ass interest rate? What? So for some, they have made incredible moves in the right direction. And for others, they're still kind of waiting. And I just can't figure out what the hell are you waiting for? Another pandemic? Because when the pandemic lifts up, the world is going to explode with like new business ventures. People are going to be traveling, it's going to be fun. And for those who haven't been placing these bets and getting ready for the upswing, I can't go back in time and say I told you so, but like I told you, should have been investing before. And we don't know where it's going to go. We don't know if it's going to get worse. You have a new administration in DC. So now it's got to run. It's a cycle.
Yes.
And all my only fear is people didn't take advantage of this time, or they're not taking advantage of this pandemic to put themselves in a better position when the world does whatever normal is going to look like for us going forward. Right. They're just not going to be ready. And then all I'm going to say is, well, you don't have any time now? Oh, you had all that time in the house and you couldn't find a few minutes to work on something. And this financial one gets me because this is always people's issue. Well, I don't have time to work on my plan, but you won't go nowhere. I'm sorry. Where was your money? You were just online shopping? You tell me, these are the things I want to know, why people after a year of almost being in this pandemic that you still have like debts of like $500 and $1,000. I know you spent more on that on ordering food.
Yeah.
I know that's an essential, but some of y'all got carried away ordering food. I know I did. I'd be like, you know what?
Yeah, had times too. Yeah.
so we're all human. Yeah. But when else will you get this time to really focus on you and your family and you're not going to get it again.
No.
You're not.
So this so the last loaded question before I have folks, to figure out how to find you online and stuff. Mm-hmm. On a high level, what are the major components for building wealth from your perspective?
All right. So I got to give you the list. You got to have your credit on point. And whether that's personal or business, just credit is still holding so many of us back from really doing the thing. Mm-hmm. Money management. I won't say the B word, but you got to figure out how to better manage your money. Figure it out. There's no one way to do it. Just whatever system will help you to better manage your money, adopt it, pay for it, download the app, whatever it is, just you got to do it. You have to think about your retirement. It's going to happen. Unless you know the day you're going to die, then I think we'll all do things differently, but expect to get old. And when you get old, I don't want you working because you need the money. That's just me. If you're working because you want to work, hats off to you. Enjoy yourself. But at a certain age, you should not be working for the money. I think a lot of people are going to continue to work because they need the money. Insurance, there's a lot. I won't go into each individual. Get some protection. If you have assets, you should be protecting them. Your car, it has to have it. Your house, it has to have it. Your life is not required by law, but I think you should have it. Right. Disability, not required by law, but I think you should have it. Like, you got to protect. The wealthiest people have the most insurance.
Yes.
It's because they have something to protect. So if you have nothing to protect, I'm going to challenge you, because you are an asset. You physically going out and working and doing your hustle and your business, you got to protect that. You got to protect you. Investments, again, we can go down this wormhole around all the different types of investments, but you got to invest in something. You can only work so many hours in a day.
Right.
You have got to put your money in some vehicle that will work for you while you're also working or while you're asleep. Just working hard is dumb. Working hard and making investments, now we're talking. So whether it's, again, stock market stuff, cryptocurrency, real estate, businesses, whatever you're into, you gotta be investing in something. Taxes, don't play with the IRS.
I know.
do not play. And lastly, I would say estate planning, like having those instructions for what happens, after you leave this earth, and just know you can manage a lot from the grave, and it's what you want. What do you want to have happen when you're not here? And there, I think it's all those components. We're maybe not perfect in all those categories, but a very robust strategy, a build wealth plan. Yep. It encompasses all of that, all of it. There's not one. Talk to a wealthy person, like a real wealthy family or a wealthy person. All those boxes have been checked off. Mm-hmm. And so for the average person trying to figure it out, I'm not recreating the wheel here. I'm reading what they're doing. Yeah. And I'm trying to be the catalyst to say, hey, I just read it. You should do it too. How about that? Yeah. These people over here, all these people over here have done all these things I just said. And you're gonna sit here and fight me on it? Okay. You're not gonna be wealthy. Your family won't have generational wealth. Right. You're gonna keep being poor. Because poor is a mindset. Yeah. And I have to disrupt generational poverty. That's what I'm fighting. It is, dude, I'm gonna be fighting for a while. I'm gonna get beat up every day that I go out here and try to disrupt this. This is a powerful muscle up here. It's the brain. Yes. And I'm fighting at it. I'm like, don't you want something different? Don't you want something different for your kids or your kids' kids? Because y'all talk about it. Y'all all talk. Show me. Yo, sign up for these accounts. Show me the proof. Show me the real estate developments you're building, the land you've invested in. Show me the policy. Show me the statement. Show me the balance sheet, Daryl. We back at the first step. Show me. I don't care that you make $250,000 a year. I don't care. It doesn't impress me. Now, if you show me that balance sheet and all I see is commas, I'm impressed. Right. Even with some debt. Debt is not bad in my eyes. No. Just have more assets than debt, yeah. And then it'll be you won't care about the debt. Wealthy people have debt too. Sure. But most people have way more debt than assets, which is why I start with the balance sheet. Here's the problem, Derek. I don't know if you know this, but this is the truth. Most people will never experience life without being in the red, or being in the black. Meaning they will always have a negative net worth because they've always borrowed. You borrow for school, you borrow for the house, you borrow for the car. So you never saved money, invested, did your retirement account, bought a business. You never did anything else. So the liabilities always stay so much higher, and you never built up enough assets. And you're never gonna feel what it's like to be in the black. Did you know you can borrow money to invest?
Yeah.
People don't do it. But we invest in debt, but we want to invest to go trade stocks. People have tons of success borrowing money to trade. That's a real legitimate hustle. I
Yes.
got a client who's doing it right now and having a lot of success. He ain't special. He just started reading more. And I kind of nudged him. I was like, bro, you kind of doing it on the low. I was like, go a little deeper.
Yeah.
He killing it. So it's how much longer will it take you to figure out this thing called life? How much longer? That's the question I want answered. You tell me how much longer it's going to take you to figure it out. Because I've given you the playbook. I've given you the recipe.
Mm-hmm.
Go ask anybody else in your circle, sphere of influence who you think is successful. Just ask him or her about all the stuff that we're talking about today. And what you'll find, they will validate every single claim. I have not said I'm against or for any specific product or service or solution, but at a certain point in your life, all these things are needed if you want to create generational wealth, if you want to disrupt generational poverty, if you want to leave this earth and leave your family with a smile on their face. They're going to be crying, but I would love to be crying with a whole bunch of money. That's
Right.
just me.
Yeah.
I'm sad you died, but I'm glad you didn't leave me a headache, which
Right.
is what most people leave their family: headaches and bills.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do that to you. Don't do that to the people you say you love the most. You full of shit. You keep lying to me and the rest of the world, and I'm tired of it. I'm tired of you lying about I love my family. I'm questioning that love. I'm sorry, you gotta do a few more is expected of you if you have a family.
Right.
That's just the reality. That's on me. I believe if you're gonna bring kids into this world, make sure they have a little bit better. Why do you want your kids to experience the same struggles you did when you could have helped them avoid it? You're not perfect, but you couldn't do them a solid by like planning for college ahead of time. So you want your kid to graduate with debt just like you?
Right.
God, you're a shitty parent. And people have told me that, Daryl. I want them to struggle like I did. I'm like, why? This is stupid.
That makes sense.
I digress, man. This is what I'm on, man. There's not gonna change, man. It's not gonna change. I'm gonna be just as fiery until I get like millions of people who are like, yeah, this Mr. Bill Wealth dude, he owned it. And my life has changed because I interacted with him. Maybe never become a client, but just hang out with me, follow me, take a look. You're gonna see I'm preaching the same message and I'm just getting better over time.
No doubt, Jasper Smith, man. Nah, you keep on changing the world, making a difference out here, man. I'm gonna do what I can to spread the Build Wealth movement to thousands and hopefully millions of folks out there. You are now officially off the hot seat now, man. So now this is your chance, your plug. Tell us how folks can find you on social. Share us your Insta, if you have a Facebook page, your Twitter handle, as well as your website.
Yeah. So definitely, I'll drive people to Instagram. So my personal handle is at Mr. underscore Bill Wealth. That's the personal, the Bill Wealth movement. That is also at the Bill Wealth movement. It needs a little bit of TLC. So I would say follow the Bill Wealth movement page as well. I have a branding coach, which you're familiar with.
Yep.
So we're working on revamping, the business page. And then definitely check out the website, thebillwealthmovement.com. You'll see the services I offer. I have a lot of articles in the blog section. Just read. I just want you to see the kind of advice that I'm trying to give to people.
Mm-hmm.
It's legit. And I hit every topic. So you'll see I'm not just a sales guy. Like I want you to really internalize all these topics and then pick out where you need to focus on today. I don't care about all 10 of the things you're trying to do, but just top 2 or 3 things. Let's get to work on those. And then the last thing is if you're still on the fence but need something easy, get a copy of my book, The Bill Wealth Challenge. There's 8 questions that I ask that will change the way you think and feel. If you answer those questions honestly, something should happen in your life positively from a financial standpoint. I don't know what it is at this point, but I do firmly believe that if you read this book, answer the questions honestly, things will happen.
Awesome, Jasper. Nah, To those out there, hope you took notes. You know, this is a good guy to get connected to go follow. You never know, the way the world is, you may get to have a one-on-one chat session with him in your very near future. But it's been a pleasure interviewing you here, man. Thank you for taking the time out to hop on the Bluurp Founder Stories channel today, man. This was an excellent podcast. I'm glad you got to communicate your thoughts and your feelings, as well as the pillars of think and feel to build your financial wealth and your financial house in order. I learned some things in the process, man. Keep being awesome. You got my back and support. I got your back and support, I should say. And yo, till next time, everyone out there, peace out.